Okay, so this is a Hanukkah Maimer that was said, as you can see, Shabbos Hanukkah, Shabbos Mevarchim Tevis, Tavshin Chof Aleph. Mizmor Shir, Chanukas, Habayis David. So this is a song, Chanukas Habayis, a dedication of the Habayis, which refers to the Beis HaMikdash, to David. Now, of course, David HaMelech did not dedicate the Beis HaMikdash. He didn't even build the Beis HaMikdash. But this pasuk is dedicated to him, as we'll see. I praise you, Hashem, for you lifted me up. And you saw to it that my enemies should not rejoice over me. The Gemara says, soon he's going to bring us from the Alter Rebbe's Siddur. But the Gemara says, what's the meaning here and what's the connection between my enemies who not rejoice over me in connection with the Chanukas Habayis, with the dedication of the Beis HaMikdash? And that was because of the sin of Basheva, whatever that was, but certainly externally it seemed like a sin, although the Gemara points out that it wasn't. Whoever says David HaMelech sinned is only in error, but Bechitzonius, it appears that way, and he certainly responds that way. In his Tshuva, Kapitel Nun Aleph, which we say at Krishim Shalmit every night. At any rate, so when Shlomo HaMelech built the Beis HaMikdash, he couldn't get the Aron inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Heichal altogether. That's because he built the Aron 20 amas wide, and the entrance is 20 amas wide. And plus, there were people carrying it on the side. It couldn't get in. And he davened 24 tefillas. Still didn't help, till he invoked the schus of David HaMelech. And then they miraculously opened. So then, that's what so my enemies who always held this against me, the chet with Basheva, so now they see that Hashem has silenced them forever, that the Beis HaMikdash, no less the Aron, going in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, is b'schus David. But here he brings now the Pirush. Visa b'siddur droshi Chanukah, so it's brought in the Alter Rebbe Siddur, Maimarim on Chanukah. This explains more literally that it was actually composed by David and not, even according to the first Pirush, it may have been composed by him, but it only comes to light at the time of the Chanukas Habayis. It's kind of a prophetic statement of David. But here, in this Pshat, it's not a prophetic statement, but a preparation. And then he said, so who are the enemies here that no longer can rejoice? They have been silenced. Then the joy of the enemies is over. They are the malachim, shekitregu al brias adam, that leveled a charge, kitregu, the accusation, with respect to the creation of man. V'omru, and they said, who is man? I said to the Abishur that you should make mention of him, or that he should be mentioned even before you. Why do you busy yourself with man? So he's saying that the building of the Beis HaMikdash is the revelation of Hashem here on earth, silencing the taina of the malachim. Interestingly enough, it's connected to Kislev, right? It was the whole kitrug. The same kitrug in essence, but with greater force as we're getting closer and closer and deeper to a greater gilali kuslamata. So we say to him, moreover, says David HaMelech, I exalt you because you lifted me up. Shepirish delisani hu meloshin reimemus. Delisani, you drew me up. Visnasos lamayla mayla. To an exalted, a very lofty place. This is because of the mile of the nishamas over malachim that comes to expression in the Beis Hamikdash. V'lachin etzem dafka by nishamas yesh in Beis Hamikdash avedis hakarbonos she'idei nasi samshachas hashchina lamata. So it's the hidden dafka nishamas begufim. And the Shamas, he stresses here that bring the Shechina lamata k'mishakos of Asli Migdash v'shachanti b'soichem. All right, that's the pirish of the pasuk, as explained by the Alter Rebbe. Clear?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
This pshat from the Alter Rebbe Siddur, is that? I'm assuming it's not a chiddush from the Alter Rebbe.
I'm also thinking, I don't know. Usually you have to look there to see if it's a medrash, because l'chor it's like a medrashic thing. I mean, it's not, doesn't sound like. But I'm not sure, because the footnote doesn't direct us to any market. I'll try to look it up and see some based on and see if there's a medrash here. Sounds like it's a medrash, right? Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure of one diuk here. Yeah. I'll praise you, Kid Yelisona. You lifted me up, and you lifted me up. This is the mile of neshamas of the melachim. Okay. Tzarich love him. In Beis Hamikdash, avedis hakarbonos v'shaychish b'neihem. Interesting question. What is the union of being a Beis Hamikdash and Karbonis and the connection between them? Strange kind of question. I mean, the Rambam says that the whole union of the Beis Hamikdash is, he defines it as a place to bring Karbonis.
That's after the fact, it doesn't need to be that way. What's the question?
Look, what's the connection between the Beis Hamikdash and...
I guess perhaps the question was the Yishu's Kavanah that you need a Beis Hamikdash to bring Kavanah.
Yeah. I mean, it could be pointing to it's machlekes of the Rambam and the Ramban. What's the ikh of the Beis Hamikdash? Is the ikh of the Beis Hamikdash the gil of the Shechina lamata, or the ikh of the Beis Hamikdash is avedis hakarbonos? So in Pashtus, it's like the Ramban says, v'shachanti b'soichem. So v'shachanti b'soichem, what do you need avedis hakarbonos? Be that as it may. V'gam tzarich love into l'chur, another question. Hamavur kan shebinya Beis Hamikdash shaykh leDavid. So here the pasuk is associating Chanukas Habayis leDavid. So l'churu heipach mashmois hapsukim b'Tanach. It's the opposite of the inference as the pasuk of the psukim. Shar mefurish b'kra. The pasuk is explicit. Shamakadosh Baruch Hu leDavid. Hashem told David he very much wanted to, and he made the plans for it. And he before that he conquered and bought the place. But he couldn't build it. This is a pasuk. You will not build it. But the son that will issue forth from your loins. His name will be. It's another pasuk. His name is Shloime. V'sholem v'sheket eten al yisod b'yomav, and I will place peace and tranquility for Yidden during his days. Hu yivne bayis lishmi. He will build a house for my name. Is it? First is Melachim, the second one is in Divrei Yomim, in the whole recap of the history, the second pasuk. At any rate, putting the two together. So the shail is, Mizem Muvan, Shebing Beis Hamikdash, Shaykh L'Shleima Davke, V'Leila David. So why is the inyan of Chanukas Habayis LeDavid?
We just explained that because David's tshuva, the thing opened in the lamp, that's how he's remembered. So the whole pasuk came to.
Yeah, okay, but he's still asking the question because, okay, there's a schus there, but at the end of the day, in Pashtus, it's not David's binyan, Shlomo Melech's binyan. It's binyan Shabbat Shlomo. these questions are very elementary. They're meant to, it's not like, oh, there's no answer to this, even in Pashtus. But the questions are meant, like every question in the Maimah, to open a window to a deeper understanding.
Well, could you imagine somebody,
Even the next question, they're also elementary, huh?
imagine somebody buying a house? And they have Chanukas advice before they own a house, before they build a house. They bought land and they have that blueprint. They didn't build a house yet.
The deed is in the name of the person who built it, who bought it. Has his name, his wife's name. Gam tzarich lavin. The next question is interesting. These questions are very elementary. It's not like when the Maimah asks a question, our job isn't to answer the question. Our job is to just savor and understand the question, and learn it, and hear the question with a freshness. Hashgacha pratis is going to be connected to the story today, indirectly. I hope I remember God willing, to draw the connection from a little bit of a surprising place, source. Not so surprising, but a little bit. And what's the connection with Beis HaMikdash with Shalom? That the Eibishter told David HaMelech, not you, but your son, Shlomo, and his time I will grant peace, so he'll build the Beis HaMikdash. That's part of the question. You can offer immediate answers, but you want to understand deeper. All right. V'yuvan kol zeh, just in time for the answer. So by his base. You have the sefer at home. Huh? Good. V'yuvan kol zeh back to me Beis HaMikdash. We have to first preface what's the inyan of the Beis HaMikdash. Didn't eksiv man lira mokim hazeh. So Yaakov said when he slept and awoke, he said, how awesome is this place. Ein zeh kim beis Elokim. This is nothing other than the house of Hashem, v'zeh shar shamayim, and the entrance, the gateway to heaven. The Targum says, Les dein asar hadjet. This is not an ordinary place. Elohein only, rather, asar, a place that raiva be min kodam Hashem, that is desired by Hashem or before God. So v'koi al hamokim hamikdash. So why is he bringing this? The Targum. What has been added here by the Targum's taich? Ki nekuda. So he's saying v'koi. This refers to the Mokim hamikdash. And how is the Targum describing it? She'eina asar hadjet. It's not, how did I say, it's an ordinary place or common place. This is not asar hadjet. The rest of the world is. The rest of the world is this common place. What is it? So we've learned this in the previous Maimah, the one before. Yeah, 2 Maimorim ago. So this is according to that which it says in Zoyar. Yes, Asara Maimoros. Asara Kappa Shekel HaKodesh. Asara Maimoros Shebem Nivrei Elam. That the 10 utterances which with Hashem created the world, Nikroim says the Zoyar million dead yoita, common words. And the Zoyar says, Vavurcha de Malka, it's not the way the king, Lishtoi, b'million dead yoita, to deal with, even refer to, and deal with ordinary words. That's how the Asar Maimoros are described. And the Beis HaMikdash is not that. Now to explore this, how are we calling Asar Maimoros million dead yoita? How do you do Bepardes, which we had in the Maimah, says in Pardes, Asar Maimoros mechuvonim keneged Aseres HaDibros. The Asar Maimoros correspond to the Aseres HaDibros. So how are they? How are they referred to as just common words? The intent is relative to the Gilul Likus above that Asar Maimoros, Nikroim million dead yoita. They're called ordinary. Like it says in Zoyar, Shematat. Matat is the greatest. We've met him many times, right? Elisha ben Avos saw him sitting, and that's how it became Napikodis, a few Mamorim ago. So he's called the Sar, the minister of all the Malachim. Nikra Hedjit, he's called the Hedjit. Why? He says in Zohar, the Hedjit, Lagabi More, because he is ordinary or commoner compared to his master. Even though he's described in the Gemara in Yevamis. Actually, you looked up the Gemara there, it doesn't say it's Matat. It just refers to the Supreme Malach, who is the Sari Shaloilam, the master of the world. It's a pasuk there, and the Gemara is not sure what it's referred to. In the end, it's not the Eibishter, but it's the Malach, who is Sari Shaloilam. At any rate, he's saying that who is that? That's Matat. I mean, that accords, that fits with what it says elsewhere about Matat. That he's the one that ties the Ksodim, and he's the chief of the Malachim. So, where are we? So even though he's called Sara Shalaylam, compared to his master, Nikra Hedjit. This is also the meaning. It says in Zohar, Gemara, a person should not take the blessing of an ordinary person, Pashut, take it lightly. So again, the Birchas Hediyat here. So before Bazer, it's explained, this is a higher madrege than Noshim Daitam Kalas. Just a word here for you and for our feminine listeners. He's speaking here the way it is with Tzatzei D'Ishtalshalos. Tzatzei D'Ishtalshalos, so Malchus is lower than Zoh. But as we all know, the Shedesh of Malchus is higher. So let's put things into context. Furthermore, just want to address this for a minute. The Daitam Kalas means literally the Das is light. Light as opposed to heavy. What it means with Pnimius is, what is Das? Das is empathy. Das is connecting. Noshim have much easier time to truly to empathize and connect. It's actually, it's a Pnimius, it's a compliment, not the opposite. You follow? Daitam Kalis. And that's, by the way, since on the subject, it's just, we should know an interesting that, people get their nose bent out of shape over such statements and similar statements, like, for example, that a woman can't be a judge. It's often associated with Daitam Kalis. It's the same Nakuda. Because the union of a judge is to be detached completely from what's of the conflict and render a judgment. And the mile of the Isha is not to be detached, but to empathize and be involved and to effect change from within, not from the outside. Judgment forces a judgment. You're chayiv, you're potter. And if you don't carry out, sheftim v'sheitim will force you. The mile of the Isha is potter b'shalom nafshi. Not that the Pediya happens through enforcing a higher authority, but b'shalom happens from within. So here too, it's a mile. That the Isha is not a dayan because it's higher than dayan. It's v'gam oivav yashlim imay. It's hapche coming from within, and that comes after through das, through empathy, through connecting b'pnimis to the person and nurturing the good that's in the combatant. All right, close brackets. But he's speaking now mitzad ishtalshalus. So mitzad ishtalshalus, the union of birchas hediyat we'll see is zoh. That's higher than the union of the darg of malchus, noshim daitim kalas. As it goes on to say now, the hinei kal. This word kal is begematria hey pamim havai. It's 130. To the math, 26 times 5. I assume is 130. Yeah. Good. What's the union of 5? 5 times Shem Havaya. Havaya b'chlal means a likus, gilel likus. What's 5 times? The union of 5, as we know, v'hayin b'chinas hey gevuras. Gevuras is associated with the number 5, and that's what Malchus is. Malchus is a result of tzimtzum, and therefore it is kal, it's a product of, as it were, Shem Havaya undergoing the 5 tzimtzumim. The 5 tzimtzumim have the manifestation within the person, right? The inyan of Malchus is dibur. Dibur is produced through the 5 organs of speech, the palate, the throat, the lips, etc. So this is a little reflection of the Maila. The inyan of the Eibishter's dibur is expressed, and dibur is a tzimtzum on machshav, and certainly on midas and moichin. That's the inyan of Malchus. Are we clear? That's the inyan of kufla. We clear the geometry here, the arithmetic. The Zel, so continuing, noshim daitim kalas, mitzad hatzimtzumim, the bechinas malchus isha. The inyan, because what's kal? Kal again is begematria, is yudke vavke 5 times. So we're saying, what's the inyan here? Because of the tzimtzum. So that tzimtzum bechinas malchus isha shebin yona me'agvuras. Malchus is built from gvura, from tzimtzum, and therefore the lower darge, then it's lower as he goes to say now from Birchas Hedyet. So that's here's the advice. But Birchas Hedyet, that should not be kala. I think he's hinting also to the word kala, kuflamad. That one is kal, but this one don't put in the same category. Zo, because Zo does not. He's not manifested through the same profound tzimtzumim that Malchus is, and therefore Amshach of Zoh is a gilalikus. He's a bracha begoli. Yeah? So inyan shalamayli b'chinas noshim daitim kalas. This is alti birchas hedyet kala benecha, because this Zoh is higher than Malchus. Fishum b'chinas Zoh shadu b'chasodim. The inyan of Birchas Hedyet is coming from Zoh, and the ikar of Zoh is Chesed, because Chesed is the first and dominant midah. So Birchas Hedyet basically is a gilui of Zoh, of Chesed of Atzilus. B'kitzur. Yeah? All to say, once you bring out the upshot of Asar Hedyet, it's Maila. Shegam Birchas we said Migdash is less Asar Hedyet, right? So this is all exploring and explaining the mile of Hedyet. Shagam Birchas Hedyet, B'chinas Lailis. So we see that the union of Birchas Hedyet is a very lofty level. As it's known, Shinyan HaBracha Hu Amshacha Mesherish U'Moked Arishin. When we say Bracha, we mean Amshacha from the first source. It's all relative, but the Hainu Sherish U'Moked Arishin, you mean a lofty source. Malchus is the immediate koyach that's responsible for creation. Malchus Peh, Hashem speaks and creation comes into being. But the Sherish is but it's known, and as we're speaking, is part of the Oilemis, that Amshoche is only Hurak, Mesherish Shemokar Oilemis Bilvad. Here we're speaking about the Sherish Shemokar of Oilemis. Oilemis means Biyah. The Sherish Shemokar of Oilemis is Zoh. That's the 6 midas, the 6 days of creation. Therefore, since it's the Sherish Shemokar of Oilemis, it's not your bracha, you're being mamshech from the source. But the source of what? The source of creation. And therefore it's called Hedyet ordinary, because what we're getting here is a bracha that's connected to Eilamas. As opposed to what? A bracha of a gilul of a likus that's completely higher than Eilamas, higher than creation. So it's a bracha from Zoh, or bracha from which is called Birchas Hedyet, is a beautiful bracha that's connected to the world. In other words, Parnasa, Yonim Gashmim, which is all wonderful. Not to say that the bracha that comes from higher is not. It also comes down in Dvarim Gashmim. But it's not the Fiyasei, the Adarab. It's not because you deserve it. It's not filtered through Bezdin Shomayla. Adarab, it's a greater bracha. But at any rate, that is what Birchas Hedyet is. What Birchas Hedyet is, bottom line is, it's a Gilui, Elikos, the market of creation, Chesed, Atzilus, and all of the spheres, and that's what the bracha is. Very lofty, but still Birchas Hedyet. Going back to Matat. Zeh gam matat, Sar Shalayla, even Nikra B'Shem Sar Shalayla. He's the prince of the world. That's how he's defined. What the Sar, another word for Sar, the prince, the what? Another word. Minister. Yeah. So, but Shalayla, therefore it's called a hedget, a commoner compared to his master. Because the Amshocha that comes to Biyah, he had the Atzimtzum, the Malchus, it's contracted through Malchus. Shenasis Atik the Biyah, that becomes Kesef for Biyah. V'yadshi Yeredes the Lema Yitzira, and then from there descends the Yitzira. Sheboy HaScholas Yin Eitzadas Toivara, that's where the Eitzadas, good and evil, emerges. Shezel Mokem Shel Matat, but that's the place of Matat. Matat's place, except for Shabbos, it says Shabbos is Oile Tebriya, but B'chlal, the place of Matat is B'Yitzira. Even though his shoyresh is of atzilus, shurubei chasodim, mekamokim kivin shenimshcha de'etzimtzum de malchus, but it's the whole bracha, the whole amshocha comes through the tzimtzum of malchus. Ubefrak if shenimshach beyitzira, never mind bria, and especially as it goes down into yitzira, b'chnes eitz adas teivara lachen nikra b'shem hedjet. Therefore, he's called b'shem hedjet. So in conclusion, his place is Yitzira. We said in Shabbos it's Bria, and he's connected. His Mokir is Chesed of Atzilus, but it's all filtered through Malchus, and therefore comes through a tremendous Tzimtzumim, and therefore he's called Hedyet. And even the bracha that's Nimshach from Chesed Atzilus, it's still a Mokir for Eilamus. A Mokir for Eilamus that goes through Tzimtzumim, and his nimshach in the Eilamus. All right, conclusion, we're basically clear, yeah? With 3 lines from the bottom of the ice. So the whole Asara Mamoros. We spoke here about the 7 in general of Atzilus, or the 6 rather, the Chesed, and so on. Shema Yoisem Keneged Es HaSfiris, even though Asar Mamoros corresponded as Sfiris, so he never Gabi B'chinas Ha'oir Shalamaylim HaSfiris, but relative to this Oir, which is expressed, the Kroim Gameser HaSfiris B'Shem Hedyet. Even the Sfiris, the Sfiris of Atzilus, which Asar Mamoros correspond to. The Gabi, the Oy that's higher than that, which is expressed in Atzeres Adibris, they are called B'Shem Hedyet. The Yosam Sheyesh B'Magbola, because at the end of the day, even the Sfiris of Atzilus have the Hagbola, Esev V'Leitesha, 9 and not 10, Esev V'Le'achadasar, 10, let's say 10 and not 9, and 10 and not 11. So even the Sfiris of Atzilus, from which the Asar Mamoros correspond, Asar Mamoros HaMalchos, is Malchus Datzilus, having undergone through the Hegvuras, the tremendous Tzimtzumim. That's Asar Mamoros. And the Asar Mamoros correspond to the Sfiris, meaning Eser, by the way, including Malchus itself, because there's 2 levels of Malchus. Malchus is bound up with Atzilus, and Malchus as it becomes the Boire, so it's also part of the Sfiris of Atzilus. End of the day, it's all very lofty, but even Sfiris themselves, which is the Mokker, it's all a Mokker for Eilamis. It's all called Birchas Hedyet. And it's Lagabi, Elikus, higher than Eilamis, it's called ordinary Matat, Birchas Hedyet, Asara Mamoros, even the Sfiris. Clear? Yeah? So all to point to the Beis HaMikdash, he said the Targum, Les Dei Nasar Hedyet. This is not an ordinary place. To continue. You see the time. Yeah, we can go further a little bit. Yeah, we're clear. Yeah? As you said the other day when you spoke Shabbos, one of the operative words you keep on hearing is a relative. This is this whole Maimed. But Prat Yisrael said, Ki Yadua, if now in more detail. Now the bigger picture, he just said, Atzilus, as a Sfiris, the Atzilus are Legabe higher than Atzilus, Hediet, ordinary, mundane, finite. Beprotius, this exists even in Atzilus, namely Hediet and higher than Hediet, ordinary and beyond, transcendent and immanent, or immanence. Not imminent, imminence. Everything in Torah is the way of klal uprat, which means that which is a prat, a detail in a bigger klal, becomes a klal for pratim that emerge from it. We see this works in Torah, Pasha. It's a fascinating thing. Torah shebiksav is a klal lagabe Torah shebal peh, which first starts away with Mishnayos, which is a klal for Gemara. Gemara becomes a klal for Geonim, for Rishonim, and so on, etc., etc. It keeps on devolving or evolving that way as the transcendent level produces relatively specifics, and these specifics become transcendent legabe the next level of Hamshacha by divine design, all pointing to the wonders of everything. So therefore, in the same way that we just said now, the Beifan Klali, as Sfiris of Atzilus is Hediet. However, in the best Sfiris Gufa, in the Sfiris himself, of Atzilus, Bechina Zoh Nikra Hediet. Zoh is the ordinary, Lagabe Bechina Samoichin, relative to Moichin. Relative to Moichin, Zoh is finite, and relative to Moichin, which is infinite. We see also Pashat, we see this in Nefesh Adam. It's all relative. Emotions are stuck and finite, and intellect, relative to emotion, can entertain opposite ideas and are limitless. The mind can explore and understand endless subjects, and from contrasting perspectives, whereas the heart cannot feel opposite emotions at the same time. The mind can entertain two opposite opinions. And the more transcendent the mind, the more objective, Moichin the godless, the more there is room there for contrasting opinions and different perspectives and so on. Whereas the heart is completely subjective, so relative. You see this in Nefesh Adam, that Moichin, Lagabe Midas, is Blik v'Lagabe Gvul, in simple language. Transcendent as opposed to Hediet, ordinary. Ordinary means you're just locked into this place. That's what ordinary means. That's what Hediet means. Nice, beautiful, but that's locked in. Not capable of going beyond the self. Nature. Now, in further relativity, in Zogufa, there's also this same model of transcendence versus Gvul. Hediet, and that is how does the hefresh b'shebein chitzoni yizah legabi pnimi yizah. In zog gufa there's chitzoni yizah and there's pnimi yizah. In Nefesh Adam, chitzoni yizah means the manifested emotion. You're right now feeling, this love, this fear, whatever it is, and then there's pnimi yizah. The pnimius of the emotions are not locked into loving this. You could actually come to a state where you don't love this anymore, you love something else. So it's less defined. The pnimius of the emotions are not defined relative to their external momentary expression. So here too, the same model again. Chitzon yizah, pnim yizah. Concluding, now, if you look at just the structure of Zoh itself, Yesod is the final hashpah. Yesod is the connection, the emotional connection to the other. So Yesod is chitzon yizah. Once at that level is known, that's what it is. Lagabe hatiferes, compared to tiferes is really the body, he's going to explain further. The pnimius of Zoh is tiferes, because that's where you see the combination of chesed and gevurah. You see the emotions in the purest state is expressed in tiferes. So tiferes is pnim yizah, and Yesod is the actual hashpah chitzon yizah. So again, the same model of transcendence, less bound, or relatively boundless, to a definitive expression. We're clear? It's all relative. Yeah, we're good. So this was geometry a little bit. As we go further in the Maimed to learn it, and Avodas Hashem, and the Avodas L'mayla, which is the objective of all of this.